But most importantly, the thing that I have seen since we last recorded, well, Brett, I saw it with you last night. We
What was
saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness
we
on
did? We did.
IMAX, which was actually pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Um, so I figure up here at the front of the show, figure we can kind of lay some non-spoiler thoughts on our listeners, and then towards the end of the show, since there's not going to be a Superman and Lois to review, since there's not a Moon Knight to chat about, we'll go long form with full spoilers on Doctor Strange 2. But for now, Brett, what did you think of Doctor Strange 2 in a non-spoiler fashion?
Right. So there's a lot to love in this movie. That said, I did feel like the movie was a little all over the place. Some of the editing was quite jarring. I also should mention that it sure as hell is a Sam Raimi movie through
Yeah.
and through, for better or for worse. You know, I mean, because if you're like a huge Sam Raimi fan, then you got a lot of Sam Raimi style, shots and just the way like scenes were like played out and like the way it was set. So you got that. So your mileage may vary depending on how big of a Sam Raimi fan you are. I really appreciated. There are a lot of horror elements to it, which like I had remember hearing about, but like I didn't expect to be so many. And
Yeah.
that was probably some of my favorite parts of the film, were some of those horror elements. Like those were done just really, really good. And it just
Yeah.
made it give the movie a much different feel than like any other Marvel film. That said, as a whole, it probably could have been cut down a little bit. It was like I think it was 2 hours. So it wasn't like 3 hour movie, but probably could have shaved a little time off that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the threads I felt like kind of fell a little flat here and there with some characters, and just because they were like there was a lot of bouncing around. There were some really cool surprises in it, which we'll talk about later. Overall, I mean, I'd
Yes.
probably give the film maybe like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10,
Yeah.
maybe somewhere in there. Like, if I can go
Mm-hmm.
a 6.5, if we're gonna do decimals, maybe that's where I land.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of stuff I liked, a lot of stuff that I was just kind of like, okay, and I think I liked it better than the first Doctor Strange film. So,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think?
Yeah, for me, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness was a whopping pretty good. I didn't love it. I definitely didn't even come close to hating it. I was probably with it. I was enjoying it through most of it. But somewhere there along the way, as we got towards the end, I kind of just started losing the vibe a little bit. It got a little kind of silly and overblown, and there was some very kind of like obvious villain tropes going on there towards the end. Like how long? Oh, I don't want to get into spoilers. That's for later.
Yeah,
But there's stuff where like the villain seemingly is taking forever to finally do the one thing they've wanted to do the whole movie. And they're giving the hero more than enough time to come and try to mount a comeback to stop that thing from happening.
yeah,
So, so towards the end there, it gets a little kind of silly and it gets a little too like MacGuffin heavy. But I need this mystical item that I'm going to name 17 times as I talk about it. And no, now I need this special item that I'm going to keep mentioning over and over again so the audience remembers it also. Like towards the end there, it just started getting a little. I'm like, okay, let's wrap this up. I see where we're going. Let's just get there. So overall, I thought it was pretty good. I'm gonna go into much more detail later on, but for
yeah.
now, honestly, yeah, I'm probably are in the same range as you, like a 6 or a 7 out of 10. Probably, and I can't hit the 7, maybe 6.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
It was just a whopping pretty good. So again, we'll circle back to that later when we can really kind of let loose.